Margaret's ring appeared larger, looked even more expensive when I saw it flashing on her hand during sound check at Earlham Park. A weekend loss playing Cheech and Chong with Dayglow Dave left my vocals flat, my timing spotty. I struggled to stay in tune while we got our levels set, and when we were done, Margaret asked if I was hungry. I said I was. She invited me to dine with her in Five Ways catering tent. It was the longest conversation we'd had outside of soundcheck since the tour began. Margaret loaded a plate with fruit and salad. I sat down with cold cuts and crab legs. Brady and the band were held hostage under bright lights, huddled against a backdrop in the corner of the catering tent, twisting their commemorative rubber bracelets and answering the same 5 or 6 questions for an endless lineup of journalists. The Five Ways reunion tour was no longer fueled by the novelty or nostalgia of its members traveling through time from the late 90s to the middle of the 20s to play the band's greatest hits in their early 40s. Now it was all about rebranding, scraping the roadkill corpse of Kev's wasted life and shallow career from the fast lane of fact and fluffing it up, scrubbing it clean, posing it to fit within the chalk outline of a tragic genius who flew too close to the sun. Turns out Brady was tight with John Hassall from the Libertines. John agreed to come over from Denmark as the band's first special guest, and I watched from the wings at soundcheck earlier that day as he effortlessly filled Kev's expensive shoes. Margaret sat with her back to the press conference. Her eyes darted from mine as I tried to read her mood. I avoided looking at her ring and quietly cracked my crab while Brady and the boys explained the duty they felt to protect the public from drug abuse by carrying on with KevFest. 2 hours later, I stood beside Margaret backstage waiting for Dayglow Dave to bring us on. He left the balloon animals out of his act, sat on a stool, and worked the crowd with nothing but his savage stand-up. I'm grateful to have this summer gig. I'm trying to get over some stuff. We recently lost my father. Oh, yeah, thank you. That's nice. Thanks. It's hard to talk about. Dad was a sex addict, and that's ultimately what killed him. He was a very kinky individual, very kinky man, and it cost him his life. He was whipped to death by a dominatrix with OCD. She kept losing count and starting over. Very sad. Margaret put a #SoundsOfStrength bracelet in my hand. I turned it inside out and pulled it over my left wrist. Margaret smiled, shook her head and gave me the finger. I borrowed a Sharpie from a guitar tech, wrote #KevFest on the purple rubber and curled my fingers under my chin, looked off into the distance like I was modeling an expensive watch, and I held that stupid pose until I heard Margaret snort. She dropped her head, shoulders shaking with laughter. Mission accomplished. Dave's routine continued. I believe the existence of yoga pants proves there really is a God, and the fact that they make yoga pants to fit motherfuckers who don't do yoga, that's proof the devil is real. Oh, booze? You're booing me? Seriously, fuck you guys. You wouldn't know funny if it bit you on the neck and laid eggs under the skin. See my man here down front right now? He's on board. Look at this guy. He's hopping around like he doesn't even need those crutches. Oh, that's the power of comedy. Dude, this isn't a tent revival. Keep those things on the ground, okay? Be safe now. I'm getting the blame for everything these days, so if you fall down and get hurt, it's gonna be on me. I can't have that. Yeah, there's no seating upgrade if you fuck yourself up to the point of needing a wheelchair. You got the best seat in the house. There's nothing closer unless you want to work security, okay? Dave finished strong, introduced us, and jogged off stage. A roadie snatched the stool away as the applause swelled and the lights came up. I started strumming the opening to Daisy Breaker and got behind the mic. Looked over as Margaret came in on her microkorg and joined my vocals. The audience were already clapping, singing every word right along with us. The young man on crutches in the wheelchair accessible section stumbled against the galvanized barrier down front and center, his limbs moving out of sync with the rhythm of the swaying crowd. He hoisted his crutches over the barrier and shouted. His eyes found mine and he heaved his crutches toward the stage as security moved in. They batted down one crutch, mantled the crowd barrier, and swarmed the screaming man. The second crutch lofted onto the stage and skittered past me. It slid under Margaret's microkorg. I took a step toward her. Margaret looked down at the crutch, and then everything I could see, everything that made sense, ended in a flash of fire.